Hello, and welcome to the HAEA's Youth Legislative Training Workshop, activity number 3. My name is John Williamson, and I'll be guiding you through the next activity in the program. In the description of this video, you will find a link to the form where you can submit your answers for this activity. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you why legislative advocacy is so important to the HAE community. Advocacy is important because it's the most effective way to make sure that the needs of our community are being met. As our society changes, we identify new problems and challenges that the patients are experiencing, and we advocate for changes to address these issues. We realize that lawmakers are the ones making the decisions that will impact every one of us and our family members. And we also realize that power comes in numbers. And for us to have the greatest impact, we have to continue to advocate on behalf of our entire patient community. The HAEA Youth Legislative Advocacy Workshop has 5 main goals: to build the next generation of HAE community leaders, to improve the advocacy skills of our HAE youth through practical and experimental training, and to underscore the vital role of youth and young adults in HAE advocacy before the U.S. Congress and at the state level, to have HAE youth advocates representing each U.S. state, and to act decisively on behalf of the HAE patient and caregiver community. So now that you've worked on your personal HAE story and researched your elected representatives, you'll move on to a vital aspect of legislative advocacy. Now you'll focus on learning about some of the issues that face the HAE community and how your elected officials can help support the HAE community on these issues. We'll use this activity 3 to guide you through the process of learning about some current bills and issues that are impacting our community. These bills and issues are all non-partisan, meaning that they are not of Republican or Democratic issues. They're in the interest of all rare disease patients. During this activity, we'll begin to search the internet to learn about 3 critical issues. As you learn about the issues, you will also use the form for activity 3 to document what you learn and submit your answers for good credit. Our goal is to find the following information for each for each issue: and what need or issue is being addressed, what is the proposed solution, and what is the intended outcome. But first, I'll take a few minutes to give you an overview on each of these issues. For each issue, remember, we want to answer 3 important questions. What is the need and issue being addressed? What is the proposed solution? And what is the intended outcome? Our first issue is the United for Charitable Assistance. For a little bit of background information, in 2014, through the Access to Marketplace Act, patients with pre-existing conditions like HAE can no longer be denied health insurance due to our pre-existing conditions. Our patient community was very happy to hear about that. However, in the same year, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services enacted a rule that states that health insurance companies like Blue Cross and Blue Shield only have to accept payment from 3 entities or people, those being the Ryan White HIV and AIDS Organization, Indian and Tribal Affairs, and any government agency. So what that did was create a loophole for patients create a loophole for insurance companies to deny payments from charitable organizations that are out there helping patients. And now they're not implementing this rule for everyone. They're only using this rule to kick off the most expensive and most vulnerable patients off of their insurance plans. And the US HAEA has helped lead a group of patient advocacy organizations to try to change this rule so the insurance companies have to accept payment from charitable organizations. And this is an ongoing effort that the US HAEA is currently fighting for. So here we can see that where you can go to unitedforcharitableassistance.com and look through the issues. And for the next step, our next issue will be the Safe Step Act. There's a thing called step therapy, which is a protocol used by most health insurance companies that requires patients to try and fail on 1 or more lower cost medications before they'll provide coverage for the medication initially agreed upon by the patient and their provider. Step therapy is widely used by health plans, and protocols vary greatly from plan to plan, even for the same disease state. When a step therapy protocol is inappropriate for a patient, it delays needed access to care and can result in devastating health outcomes. Anecdotes of patients undergoing preventable and irreversible surgeries or even dying as a result of badly implemented step therapy is common among many patient communities. The Safe Step Act will allow physicians to have the option, when they deem medically necessary, to make sure that the patient is able to receive the prescribed treatment rather than a cheaper, sometimes less effective treatment. This legislation takes a common sense and balanced approach to improving patient access by ensuring that commercial health plans provide an expeditious, transparent, and reasonable step therapy appeals process. Under the Safe Step Act, plans must respond to the step therapy appeals within 24 to 72 hours and base their determinations on sound medical reasoning and the necessity of the patient. Plans must also make their appeals process available online to both patients and providers, including the information that's needed to submit a successful appeal. And you can find some information on the Safe Step Act here. You can also find several other articles just by Googling the Safe Step Act. For our third issue, we have the National Institute of Health. You can visit the National Institute of Health, or NIH, and in the search type in hereditary angioedema to find out information on how NIH supports the HAE community. Every year, the HAEA requests support for additional funding from NIH, which is a government organization that supports critical medical research. This federally funded research often serves as a catalyst with industry turning medical breakthroughs and scientific advancements into innovative therapies and cutting-edge diagnostic tools. The bulk of NIH research is not conducted by the federal government. Rather, academic research centers across the country, like UC San Diego, Harvard, Northwestern, UT Southwestern, etc., and they compete for funds for research projects. You can find more information about the Institute of Health and how they support HAE at nih.gov. So now let's start digging up the information we're looking for. The link to the form for Activity 3 can be found in the description of this YouTube video. If you go to unitedforcharitableassistance.org, here you can see what the issue is and look through, read about the issue and the reason that it's important to our patient community, and read about this, and then submit your answers through the JOT form. And here is one of the websites for Winstrup, who is a congressional member of Congress, and he is very supportive of the Safe Step Act and has a little bit of background information here on the Safe Step Act, what it means, and the impacts that it could have on our community. Feel free to go to this website to read up a little bit more information and familiarize yourself with the Safe Step Act. And here's where you'll go to the National Institute of Health website. There is a search bar at the top right. It says Search NIH. And if you go to that, you can type in hereditary angioedema. And this will bring up many different articles on hereditary angioedema. Some of those, the current state of hereditary angioedema, the treatment for hereditary angioedema. There's all kinds of great and informative articles here where you can read up on the different things that the National Institute of Health is doing to support our HAE community. Again, the link to that form for activity 3 can be found in the description of this YouTube video.